What's up, folks? This is Justin from Books, Bricks, and Boards. Aristotle said that there is no great genius without a touch of madness. And I think this is really true, especially when it comes to game design. My favorite game designers have little eccentricities about them that, while on the surface, some of their choices may seem odd or just downright crazy. But often, it is these little eccentric choices that make a game memorable. So today, what I'm going to talk about are the 5 strangest choices in game design mechanics that I've found in RPGs. There is one caveat to that. If the game itself doesn't work at all, for example, Fatal, if you don't know what it is, don't bother looking it up. But if the game doesn't work at all, I'm not going to give them credit. But if the game has some sort of merit to it and it has some crazy design choice within the mechanics of that game, then it made the list. So this is my top 5 strangest mechanic choices by game designers.
Necessary? Is it necessary for me to drink my own urine? No, but I do it anyway because it's sterile and I like the taste.
All right, coming in at number 5, we have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Other Strangeness. Now, what better way to start a list about strange mechanics choices in games than a game that actually has that in the title, Other Strangeness. This is a game from the 80s by Palladium Books, and it works on their Megaversal system. It is a game that is reflecting of its time, and it has some rough edges, but most folks that played this as kids really have some great memories from this. I've read lots and lots of stories, and I've talked to lots of people that have played this game, and everybody recalls at least the character creation process with a great deal of fondness. I have the whole line, but this is the core rule book. And the strange choice from this was the way that they dealt with insanities. They actually used different afflictions from the DSM medical books of the time, and they basically gave random insanities for trauma. So you could get hit in the head and then suddenly become a necrophiliac. And there's lots and lots of other odd choices in this section. There's also areas dealing with alcoholism and phobias, but it was just an odd choice for a game that is focused on comic book Ninja Turtles. Now, given the comic book at the time was much grittier and darker than what you know as the Ninja Turtles today, it was before the cartoons or really any other licensing deals. But still, it seems very unnecessary to add this to the game, but they did, so it made the list. Coming in at number 4, we have a rule from Dungeon Crawl Classics. For those of you that are regular viewers of the channel, you know that I love this game. It's got that over-the-top gonzo feel while still having a tight rule set and some great material created for it. Not to mention, everything you need to play the game is right in this one book. But that is not where the rule came from that I'm talking about today. I am talking about the Magic Mustaches. This is actually an excerpt from the Dungeon Crawl Classics Annual. I printed this out because I've got the PDF. And this is 4 pages of random tables and rules for mustache duels and the specific special magical abilities of different types of mustaches. There's several here. And, you know, this is somewhat in theme for Dungeon Crawl Classics. If you've ever looked at their art for their games, they love the 70s mustache, and many of the protagonists and the villains have their own styles of mustache in the art. But to take it to this level and have 4 pages of mustache magic is a gonzo choice even for a game as gonzo as Dungeon Crawl Classics. And that's why Mustache Magic is my number 4 strangest choice for a game mechanic. Coming in at number 3, I have Rutama. Now, this is a game about ordinary folks going on their life quest. Everybody is compelled to go on an adventure and find the world around them and settle in a new area. And the name of the game actually means dragon egg in Japanese, as I understand it. The characters tend to be merchants and tradespeople, and it plays out kind of like a JRPG computer game. But the really odd choice in a already quirky game is that the game master in Rutama creates their own character. That's right, the GMPC that is so reviled by the gaming community has an entire section of the rulebook devoted to it. It's actually very important to the way the game plays. You actually choose the type of dragon that the GM is going to play, and the GM's character can even die. And the different types of dragons will have different special powers that can help the party. So with this, you create your hero, the name for it is Irujin, and you are able to use your specific special powers to the type of dragon that you chose to influence the game to help the players. It even suggests in here not to let them know that you're helping them at times until the time is right to reveal yourself. The dragon can turn into 3 different forms, and you could be a recurring NPC character in their games. But this is just a very strange choice based upon what is normally accepted in the RPG community, because GM characters are generally highly frowned upon, but in Rutama, they're a key part of the game. Coming in at number 2, this rule is going to come from Righteous Blood, Ruthless Blades, the Wusha role-playing game. Now, this is a really neat game. It's extremely brutal. There's rules for limb decapitation, all sorts of rules for high fantasy, Japanese, Chinese style martial arts combat with weapons. Very reminiscent of films such as The One-Armed Swordsman. But what I'm going to talk about today is the rule for the killing aura. So in the game Righteous Blood, Ruthless Blades, characters have an aura that emanates from them that is it's based upon how many people that they've killed, how far out their aura goes. So you can actually feel the effect and the weight of the lives that your enemy has taken. Or if you become a very powerful character and you've defeated many enemies, you emit that aura yourself. And it is, it's kind of neat, but it is very strange. And that is the killing aura from Righteous Blood, Ruthless Blades. All right, coming in at number 1, and there was really no other choice for this. This entire game could be seen as one huge strange choice in mechanics if it weren't for the fact that it's based on the most popular core game system that you could think of. It's based on BX Dungeons and Dragons. This is made by Kevin Crawford of Sine Nomine Publishing, and it works in a very similar way to his very popular Stars Without Number, Worlds Without Number, and soon-to-be Cities Without Number rule sets. The difference is this is set in the 700s in England, right after the Romans have left the English to fend for themselves. The game's not completely without magic, but pretty near. It's a very grounded game, and it's very deadly. The player characters are never going to be without danger. And it's written from the perspective of a monk from that era. Everything is written in the first person, even the rules, as the monk would have written them to create a role-playing game in the 700s. It's a very interesting read. But that's not the only thing that is strange about this, and I picked a mechanic that I had to read it several times to make sure I wasn't having a fever dream. They have rules for cattle raiding. That's right. Because resources are scarce and villages are often at odds with one another, there are detailed rules for cattle raiding. So much so that there are specific roles that one plays in the process. There's a pacer and a herder and a masker, and then there's the rest that are left over to be the actual thieves of the cattle. And there's rules for playing this entire scenario out. So if you've ever thought to yourself, you know, I really like role-playing games, but one itch that's never been scratched was my desire to raid cattle in the 700s in ancient England. Well, Wolves of God is your game. All right, so that was my top 5 strangest game design choices by game developers in RPGs. Hopefully you did enjoy the content, and I hope that you will comment about some other strange game design choices that you've seen in games that you've been reading. I want to thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the content. If you did, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, this has been Justin from Books, Bricks, and Boards. Good gaming, and God bless.